Let's take a quick look at the particle clone tool in Lightwave Modeler. What I have here is just a basic box, and if I go over to the Multiply tab and from the Duplicate More drop-down choose Particle Clone, what will happen is it'll take the existing geometry in the layer, and for every point on the object, what it'll do is it'll create a copy of it. So it's centered this box on every point in the corners here. So I ended up with quite a few boxes. Now, that's one way to use it. Another way to use it is to go and say, this is our other object. I've got this red cone, and I want to duplicate that. Instead of duplicating it on all the points that are existing on this geometry, I'm going to go into another layer. Let's go over to the Create Points, and I'm going to right-click and create some points. Okay, and now that I have these points, I'm going to swap the layers, and I want to duplicate this geometry on each one of those points. I'm going to go to Multiply, Particle Clone, and I've got a whole set of the same object located on each point that was in the background layer. Now, it doesn't have to just be independent points. If I come over here, I set this hemisphere in the background, and I go to Multiply, Duplicate, More, Particle Clone. It'll place one on every point of that background object. Now, this is really useful for quickly populating an object with spikes, or let's say a landscape with trees. Now, one thing that this doesn't do is randomize it. Now, I could go and select each one and change the scale, maybe squash it a little bit, rotate a little bit so that they look a little more random. Or I could use another tool called Point Clone Plus, and let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this as the example. Multiply, same drop down, but we're going to go down the list and go to Point Clone Plus. And then what that allows us to do is randomly rotate it, scale it. We can even change the centering. Let's go ahead and use some of these random values that are already here and hit OK. And as you can see, for every point there's a new cone, but some of them are squashed, some of them are rotated, so it randomizes everything, so it doesn't have to be so perfect. So those are two quick tools for duplicating geometry. That's Particle Clone and Point Clone Plus. And again, they're great for adding spikes, rocks to ground, trees to ground, anything if you want to take an existing object and duplicate it multiple times in just a click.